to be more uncertain. Now, let me go and show you
Michigan. Smile for the thumbnail.
Okay, you're going to see a little red. You're going to see a few areas of blue. This is the case in almost everything. Democrats living in cities, suburban areas, otherwise rural areas, rural Republican. And that should count statewide, 54, 44. But then let's zoom in again. I'm going to look at Wayne County in Detroit. That is a relatively paltry number compared to the almost a million ballots, still to count. So, on we go.
And that's a good explanation of just how much further we have to go, and potential litigation that also exists, given that there is a vote count still ahead, that has, this is going to hinge on existence, and it will be a battle of lawyers and not only in the courts, perhaps the nation's highest court. There's still more to find out.
So
We just don't know.
leave my 30 minutes
to play the piano. We would be transparent from the beginning. We would let everybody know as soon as we can, and call a race when we can, but we wouldn't rush this process.
But it's safe to say lawyers are somewhere sharpening their pencils because they know they're going to get a couple of jobs coming out of this very soon. Rather than
in fact, and Ed will probably know the numbers better than I do, but I know at least on the Biden team,
I don't know what this channel, this new channel is saying about.
They would say thousands
I don't know
across
what
the
it's
country,
saying
at least
about the election being
on a volunteer
postponed or
basis,
the
ready
vote being
to
postponed.
file if
It's a lot.
necessary.
It's not
A
really
smaller core of
ridiculous.
hundreds, certainly that were ready. Some of the
Certainly not
biggest
fair.
Well, the RNC already had 40 lawsuits in different states.
Right.
There were something like 400 almost total with different interest groups in the state level. But some of these things were anticipated. There was arguing in each state because it is a 50-state race about how long the window could be during which ballots could be received. Exactly what you talked about earlier, Nora, with drop boxes and the like. State by state, how you vote has changed this year in many places due to the pandemic, and in other places there were really no accommodations due to the pandemic.
I still go back, guys, to the question that I asked earlier, why there can't be, with the technology that we have today, why there can't be some kind of automated system that no matter where you live, you fill out the same kind of form. You know, sure, the timing may be different depending on the state that you're in. I don't understand why, as we sit here in 2020, and no one I know can answer that question tonight, but I don't know why we sit here in 2020 that there isn't some automated, simple way for us all to
because of federalism.
Because of the federalist system, because it is state by state that they administer it. But I've had
apologies, everybody. What do I have playing in the background?
A real conversation about
this lady just say, I don't understand why we don't have a system that lets you vote from home that's automated. Maybe because like more people are up to par with technology and it could easily be hacked or something like that. I don't know. Maybe you never thought of that. Not really too into politics, but when I see something, I got to comment on it. I just have this playing for background noise, so I'm not very too, up to date with what station is the best station. You know, NBC, Fox News, CNN, ABC. I don't know. It all sounds like background noise to me, honestly.
Start here, the daily news podcast from ABC News. Even the New York Times calls us a top news podcast.
Banana, banana, banana. You see my thing. Music is the passion. There's a funny meme that shows the cat and it's like born to cook, made to work, and that's how I feel. Born to do the things I love, which is learn more about, get into more, perfect my craft when it comes to music, and just working on myself. I think it was always music, but it's just a passion. Very heavy passion. Let's see what's going on here, guys.
I hear his voice.
Biden rally. Joe Biden expected to speak shortly. Okay, this should be interesting. Wow. Here.
Good evening. Your patience is commendable. We knew this was going to go long, but who knew we were going to go into maybe tomorrow morning, maybe even longer. But look, we feel good about where we are. We really do.
Seems like Biden's got this supposedly.
I'm here to tell you
already
tonight,
having like a rally
we
to
believe
get
we're on track to win
results.
this election. We knew because of the unprecedented early vote and the mail-in vote that it's going to take a while. We're going to have to be patient until the hard work of tallying the votes is finished. And it ain't over until every vote is counted. Every ballot is counted. But we're feeling good. We're feeling good about where we are. We believe one of the nets has suggested we've already won Arizona, but we're confident about Arizona. That's a turnaround. We also just called it for Minnesota, and we're still in the game in Georgia, although that's not one we
These
expected.
dudes are really, honking people who honk in
We're
cars.
feeling
Like,
real
that is
good
something
about
that is
Wisconsin and
irritating. It
Michigan.
has nothing to do with the elections. It's just people are really honking.
And by the way,
it's like, stop honking.
It's going to take time to count the votes. We're going to win Pennsylvania. I've been talking to folks in Philly, Allegheny County, Scranton, and they're really encouraged by the turnout and what they see. Look, we can know the results as early as tomorrow morning, but it may take a little longer. As I've said all along, it's not my place or Donald Trump's place to declare who's won this election. That's the decision of the American people. But I'm optimistic about this outcome. I want to thank every one of you who came out and voted this election. And by the way, Chris Coons and the Democrats, congratulations here in
that's not too
Delaware.
much of a bad idea to announce the results tomorrow, because I feel like people on both sides
Hey,
are ready
John,
to just
you the go.
react to whatever
The
happens
whole
tonight.
team,
So save
man.
it for tomorrow.
You've done a great job. I'm grateful
Lose the
to
motivation.
the poll
for doing
workers, to our
something like that.
volunteers, our
And,
canvassers, everyone who
tomorrow,
participated in this
everything,
democratic
the energy calms
process.
down for
And I'm
those
grateful
people.
to
And,
all
it's
my
for both
supporters here in
sides.
Delaware and all
Both
across
sides
the
are ready
nation.
to react to
Thank you,
whichever
thank you,
result
thank
there
you.
is.
And folks, you
So,
heard
yeah,
me
if
say
you
it
save for
before.
tomorrow, then I
Every
believe
time I walk out of my
people
grandpa's
will have
house
more
up in
of a,
Scranton, he'd yell, Joey,
clear mind.
keep the faith.
And
My grandmama, she's live, yelled, no,
have better,
Joey, spread it. Keep the faith,
better
guys.
choices.
We're going to win this. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
people from both sides.
Patience is great.
At this point, I vote for who's that's interesting.
And some short remarks there by the former vice president calling for patience, saying that they're doing better than expected in Arizona, as another network has called that race for Arizona. But CBS News at this hour is saying that it is likely Biden. We've not made a full projection on that race. Also noting that the Biden team feels like they're doing well still in Georgia, with so much of the vote outstanding in key Democratic counties that are voter-rich in Democratic votes.
Talk to you tomorrow. He also suggested, Nora, that Minnesota has been called. That's another one that we have not, at CBS at least, called for him, although it's likely to be one of his. He said, I believe we're on track to win this election. He called for patience. It ain't over until every ballot is counted. He added later, we may know the results by tomorrow. If that parking lot looks familiar, it's the same one from which he accepted the Democratic nomination in Wilmington. But this seems to be designed to allow everyone to go home and clear that parking lot.
Yeah, I don't know. Most parking lots look all the same to me. But I
No, that has a special shade of gray, though, Nora. But I will never get used to. I don't think. I know it's a pandemic. I get it. That you can't talk in front of a crowd. You're just sitting in your car honking a horn, and that now needs applause.
I'm really glad you bring this up because I think this may end up being one of the either master strokes of the Biden campaign or the biggest blunder of them all? They decided to keep him off the trail. Well, let's see. They kept him off the trail for most of the summer, understandably because of the pandemic. And what have Republicans been saying? Look at the thousands of people who show up to the president's rallies. These people won't vote. Biden can't get 12 people to show up. And a lot of them are getting sick too, though. They are. Look at that. They are. And a lot of people
who attend the Trump rally.
But the broader point they're making is, even though there's a pandemic, even though everyone's at home, voters have to be contacted, doors have to be knocked on, and the Biden campaign didn't do much.
Well, but Pennsylvania was his most visited state at 4 visits.
No,
right?
no, 19 total since June.
But should you be penalized for following the rules and practicing social distancing?
It hasn't necessarily been yet. I'm just saying there will probably be a debate among those who run campaigns.
Why was it so important for Biden to come out early before President Trump?
Well, you want to give your supporters a shot in the arm. You want to suggest also that, there's both the counting competition and then there's the public shaping of the debate competition. Preemptively get in front of the president to say this is all natural and normal before the president who has
It's not over.
All right. We've still got lots to talk about, a lot ahead. We're going to take a short break. Be sure to download the CBS News app to track all your local races on your phone or tablet. CBS News 2020, America Decides. More information straight ahead. We'll be right back.
COVID has taken the lives of tens of thousands of Americans. Rural areas like this here on Navajo Nation are especially hit hard.
15 to 30% of our Navajo citizens don't have running water.
In any indigenous reservation, there is a shortage of physicians.
Native Americans are amongst the most vulnerable and hardest hit by COVID.
Yeah, the more we lose our elders to COVID-19, the more we lose our language and our way of life.
We need to bring awareness to the attention of Washington, D.C. and United States citizens that there is a need to focus on the first citizens of this country.
CBSN Los Angeles. Get local news, breaking news, anytime, anywhere.
It's easy to find us, and it's free.
Download the CBS News app on your favorite devices. CBSN Los Angeles, streaming 24/7. CBSN Pittsburgh, your neighborhood news, streaming 24/7. Anytime, anywhere. Find it on KDKA.com and on all your favorite devices.
In 60 years, we went from about 100,000 factory workers to probably about 7,000.
Off in the distance, you can see some factories are still humming. Most of them are just kind of
The restaurant industry right now is one of the largest and fastest growing industries in America. And yet it continues to be the absolute lowest paying employer in the United States.
Barely anybody's making enough to live.
You're donating plasma to get by.
Seems like every time
Literally a slave wage. I don't remember growing up like this. My mom didn't have to go to food banks. It's pretty sad.
There's always, every time I go on YouTube, it seems like there's always a new fucking white boy with his guitar, like this guitar is so funny. But whatever. It always seems like there's a new white boy every time I log onto YouTube with his guitar, with singing his heart out about something. Very talented, very good voices. I've heard there's just a similar style. And it's like, hey, I respect everybody's hustling, but it kind of gets to the point. Damn. Style, but at the same time,
Welcome back to CBS News Election Headquarters, where the former Vice President Joe Biden has just addressed the nation and supporters in Wilmington, Delaware, saying, "The faith, I am optimistic, and be patient, as there are still millions of votes to be counted across America. In some places, they have stopped the counting due to labor issues and other issues that
Broken pipes.
Broken pipe in one particular issue. We're also expecting to hear from President Trump tonight. Want to bring in Weijia Zhang at the White House, where the president has been watching the returns, and a note that we will not report anything that is inaccurate on our air. That certainly characterize how the campaigns are feeling at this hour. Weijia?
Nora, the president is watching the returns and apparently watching the former vice president, because as soon as Joe Biden left the stage, the president fired off a pair of tweets. He said, "I will be making a statement tonight, a big win." He also said, "We are up big, but they are trying to steal the election. We will never let them do it. Votes cannot be cast after the polls are closed." Of course, for those of us who have covered President Trump for several years, we will never try to interpret what he means, but we can only tell you what he has said up to this point. And it seems like he is talking about mail-in ballots, which started sowing doubt about months and months ago. It seems like he's talking about all the votes that will be counted after Election Day. That's because he bluntly said as much many times during his last round of rallies to supporters, saying that we ought to know by the end of by the end of November 3rd, the results and the votes of every race. Of course, that's not going to happen. And so now he's beginning to say, look, they're trying to steal it away from us. This tells us where his mind is, where he's going.
That the election should end on November 3rd is a blatantly ahistorical closing argument. Votes in a fair election have been counted past election night. Every vote should be counted and tabulated is exactly at the heart of a democracy, and America is the greatest democracy in the world.
And we should just stop for a moment. And we've all interviewed national security officials who are working in the administration to keep rumors from spreading and keep people from undermining the election. And this kind of report is at odds with what work they're doing.
Right, and parroting that as well. Some CBS stations will be leaving us for local election returns. For the rest of you, our coverage continues. You're watching CBS News 2020. America Decides. Let's bring in Anthony Salvanto at the Election Data Center and Major Garrett.
Actually, Nora, we're going to bring in Ed O'Keefe and Major Garrett. Ed O'Keefe is Anthony Salvanto's better-looking twin, actually.
Sure.
Ed O'Keefe, we're going to talk about...
Well, first off, if you're still with us at home, thank you for doing that.
Exactly.
Especially for those of you in the East who are up late after normal business hours. Look, just heard from a Biden campaign official a little while ago who believes that Georgia is razor thin, potentially theirs.
Right.
Let's
this is the map on 306 electoral votes for President Trump in 2016. We always start when we're at the what if board with that. Yep. So, Ed, you want me to put Georgia, let's just for the sake of argument, as a scenario, blue for Biden.
And let's put North Carolina as a toss-up for now.
North Carolina is a toss-up because it still is.
And it could be for 9 days.
And we have Arizona
hypothetically leaning towards.
Well, let's put it in the Biden category and let's see what that does to the electoral map. So 306 is now gone to 264, Biden at 259.
Right. Iowa and Ohio looking like they're going to the president.
Yes, they are.
Michigan, Wisconsin, we'll see, but let's give Michigan to Joe Biden.
All right, see what happens there. That puts him over 275. So that's why Georgia is so important. But let's put North Carolina back still.
Yeah.
So even if the president holds on to North Carolina, but if Biden picks up Georgia, Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, he's over 270.
But let's flip Wisconsin and Georgia.
Okay.
What happens?
Wisconsin, Biden.
Blue. Georgia, no, keep Michigan blue.
Okay.
Georgia, make Georgia red.
Make Georgia red. There we go.
What happens?
269,
look at that.
269.
Now, there have some, and I heard from viewers after our last segment about this. They said, don't forget that Nebraska congressional district, Nebraska 2.
Right, which is currently trending Biden by about 30,000 votes. So I've heard with about 70% of the vote counted.
So look what happens.
Let's just put Nebraska. That's what NE2 means. It's not from the periodical table of elements. That's Nebraska 2. Put that blue for Biden.
Do it again.
Do it one more time. There we go. Come on board. Boom. 270 to 268. We've been holding Nebraska 2nd congressional district until well after midnight. We're after midnight, so that's why we're bringing it out. Okay? Because it's a real part of the scenario, or it could be. We'll take it back, put it there. 269, 269.
Now, what do we?
The president holding North Carolina, Georgia, and Florida, but losing Arizona, losing Wisconsin, losing Michigan.
And this goes to the House of Representatives.
Yes, but that's not till 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. Okay, so hold back on that. So that's where we are, but we know for a fact, Ed, that Pennsylvania is not going to be decided tonight. So we put that in the toss-up category. But this is the way the map begins to develop. What it underscores is sort of where we've been since about 9:30, 10 o'clock Eastern. Wisconsin, Michigan looms so large for the former vice president because North Carolina, Georgia's still a toss-up, but Florida certainly didn't come through the way that they thought they might.
You know the Trump guys so well.
Yes.
They must be sitting there thinking, we told you so.
Yes.
Told you so.
And because they were bullish about Florida, Florida came through. They're bullish about North Carolina. We'll see about that. I think Georgia is still something that both campaigns now say, wow, it's going to be very, very tight. That is less bullish than the Trump campaign was 24 hours ago. We'll see. And okay, thanks for joining me here. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more election coverage. You are watching CBS News 2020, America Decides.
The biggest names in politics.
Whoa, that's news. Do you think that the president has the authority to send in active duty troops?
Face the questions you want answered.
Did the CDC let the American people down? Tell me about the decision. When was it made? Who made it? What is the next area that you are concerned about? What does that mean for the risk of reinfection here in the United States?
You bring up a very good point, Margaret. Margaret, that's a great question.
Face the Nation with Margaret Brennan on CBS.
Go to the ends of the earth.
Right now.
We got something crazy.
Oh,
And reach for the stars. There we are.
Yes, it's my turn.
Hey, this is pretty fun. But wait,
Everybody, shout out to Brandon, the guy on the phone.
Innovative and truly original was born.
You look through a telescope and go, wow.
What was I talking about social media?
Under the sun on
Being toxic.
CBS, Sunday
You know, you
morning.
see things that are not healthy for the mind. I don't think we should normalize those things, especially with kids seeing those things. With social media becoming more intimate with the youth. You know, it's like people on these Instagram models and girls just not respecting themselves too much. Guys.
Welcome back to CBS News Election Headquarters in Times Square. We have heard from Joe Biden.
Just a lot of corruption.
And we're expecting
and
to hear
a lot
from
of showing
President
off.
Trump
A lot of,
soon.
there's a lot of like toxicity, pretty much.
We have a
like
call.
it's not bad to be proud of where you are, and what you
CBS
accomplished,
News
or what you buy yourself, and
projects
whatever. But it's like
President Trump
most of it
has
is
won
done in a manner
Florida
where it's like,
and
look at me, my
Iowa.
flashy car, and you know.
These
This
are
and
all
that,
part
and
of
my
the
sex
notable
money.
9 states that we started the evening
Anyways.
with.
Come shout down.
And as we fill in some of those battleground states,
Okay.
you can see the ones that are still in white are the battleground states that are still toss-ups or still too close to call at this hour because not all of the vote has been counted.
That's right. Remnants from Chapter 1, Georgia and North Carolina. And then Chapter 2 is going to be a long one. Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin.
How's our puzzle looking, John, that we started out with at 7 o'clock?
Well, you know,
yesterday.
As we said at the beginning, sometimes we're going to look at it. The picture's going to look this way, and then it's going to change.
Yeah.
And so we've had a lot of interesting conversations about the way the country sorts these two different candidates, what their fears are, what their hopes are, and how they have totally different coalitions who have, you were saying earlier about COVID-19, you were saying that, shouldn't a candidate be penalized if they don't follow the rules? I think you can make a case that Donald Trump is benefiting from not following the rules because of the way in which that reasserts that kind of anti-political correctness that is so much a part of the kind of cultural connection he makes with his voters. So in fact, in his case, he would have been the opposite of good politically for him if he had sort of been where his public health officials were.
Well, especially since he got COVID-19, and I think many people thought, well, maybe since he's been through it, he'll understand, how serious it is. He at least, we know it, he had breathing, he was on oxygen for at least 2 times that we know about. So people thought, well, maybe he'll have a different attitude when he came out. In fact, he came out and doubled down, really ignoring all of his own experts.
Well, remember that the president had access to health care that no other American
absolutely
has. He had the nation's top military doctors at Walter Reed caring for him. These were the greatest doctors in the world, the greatest facility in the world to treat the President of the United States and other United States senators and military officials who get treated there. And he was also given experimental drug that cost over $100,000 a year, the Regeneron monoclonal antibody, which again is not available to the general public. So he was given what is the very best of America, as should the President of the United States. And so his outcome was remarkably different, certainly than almost every other senior that is the age of 74 and slightly obese as the President of the United States is. So he had a different outcome because he had the best of American care. Now, the question remains about the way he acted. And if you look closely, many people say that when he returned to the White House, that event that we covered live, and he ripped that mask off, that was a sign. Yeah. That was a sign to the very people that John is referring to, that believe that mask is a way of infringing on my freedoms, that I will be liberated from those that ask me to behave a certain way, that I am uniquely an American because I can do whatever I want. Now, that is antithetical to other people who believe that, in fact, we're all part of a social contract where we protect one another with a mask. And that really is the clash of these two values that have come head to head tonight.
And you're exactly right. And that's sort of adjacent to, can you handle a pandemic that hits the country and kills over 230,000 Americans? I mean, that's the other part of this, which is the president good at doing his job, which is a distinct category from what Nora just talked about, which is that cultural debate that's around how you behave in response to
just the fact now that masks are now a political hot potato and now become polarizing, that has now become an issue. That, you know, I've seen interviews with women that say, people in the crowds that say, well, you know, if he says we should wear a mask, I would wear a mask. The president's words have great power, great power.
And Leslie Stahl asked him that during that 60 Minutes.
I remember.
Why don't you?
Yeah.
But it brings us back to this cultural divide that, you know, is it about Trump or is it about something broader in our society?
Yeah,
but we come back time and again to parallel realities of America right now. I mean, Gail, you're probably thinking, as am I, of the people who are questioning whether they should have Thanksgiving dinner with family members and whether it's safe in the coming weeks.
And I'm not going to because of that.
But then we're talking about another part of America that's saying it's all a conspiracy. It's not that serious. And look, you can recover from it. And that's why I think it's important to remind people that it's not just about the death count, which is staggering. It's about getting ill in the first place, right? It's about how it has really brought a halt to the economy in large parts. It is about the cost that gets associated with it. I mean, you're talking about a decade of economic progress for women that was just wiped out in a matter of a few months. And that's why that question of, is it the economy or the coronavirus and prioritize, it almost doesn't get at what you're talking about, that it's just the same sort of disruptor approach from 2016 all over again.
Yet there have been shifts in the electorate. And even though this is a very close race tonight, so have most of the other recent presidential elections. Really, Barack Obama was an outlier. I mean, he was one of the only 3 presidents in the 21st century that essentially won over 52% of the vote. That was considered a blowout, what Barack Obama did. That large of a margin. We have most other these recent elections have been very narrow in scope. Certainly in 2016, the race was decided by 77,000 votes in 3 states. We have a deeply divided country. It existed before the pandemic. It exists again tonight. And yet that's why I think, while these exit polls offer us a glimpse, not a definitive answer into what, we have seen some shifts. We've seen some shifts among independents back towards the Democratic side. We've seen college-educated women shift. We've also seen Latinos in Florida shift towards President Trump in Miami-Dade County. So those are all part of this puzzle piece that we're putting together, just what our country believes, what our country wants. All of that incredibly important, what we're sifting through tonight.
And Nora, what I want to know is, who are we as a country? You know, some of the answers that I hear, what I see, are just very troubling to me. I want to know, who are we?
Well, we're not monolithic.
We
we're 50 states that are able to choose who we want to be. And that's, you know, that's the uncomfortable part of democracy. It really is the uncomfortable part of democracy, that there may be people that you so strongly disagree with and think are completely, totally wrong, but everybody gets a vote.
Exactly. which is 100% true in the campaign and the election, where, of course, and you already talked about this, the common good. Where it gets tricky, of course, is when you have a public health issue where your own individual liberty is not the whole part of the equation, because how you behave affects how other people behave. And we've seen where there have been super spreader events.
Vote. Just don't want to go
an
work.
individual liberty choice, but they are not the only ones who feel the repercussions.
Right, let's
because
see
they
what
go to
else is
events
going
at the
on.
White House.
This is
You know?
boring.
Yeah, and that,
Boring. See what this channel has to say. Okay, they're playing an ad.
Watch what they do, not what they say.
President Trump and Joe Biden hit the trail. The center of this campaign, coronavirus, the story. The battleground blitz as we enter the final stretch of the 2020 race from every angle. If you were sitting here talking to Joe Biden and President Trump, what would you want to tell them right now? On the ground. The wind standing these flames are expected to last another 24 hours. And in depth. We now have 2 vaccine trials on hold. Should people be concerned? NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt. Welcome back on this Wednesday here on the East Coast and our continuing coverage of the 2020 election results. We're going to show you where things stand right now. Here's what the Florida presidential vote. NBC News projects that Donald Trump will win Florida's electoral votes.
We're starting to get some of the battlegrounds in Ohio. The president took Ohio 18 electoral votes into his column.
And let's look at Iowa. Trump projected winner in Iowa, 6 electoral votes. Texas, too early to call. Trump leads, however. Well, I'm just sorry in my ear as those words came out of my mouth. Trump now is the projected winner in Texas. Again, Trump now the projected winner in the state of Texas.
All right, in Minnesota, it is too early to call, but we can say that Joe Biden is leading in that state. In Arizona, it is too early to call, but again, it appears that Joe Biden has taken a lead there.
Georgia is the curious one that we're watching right now, as Chuck keeps pointing out, waiting for those numbers, those votes to come out of the Atlanta area. But right now, we characterize it as too early. North Carolina is too close to call.
Let's go to Pennsylvania. It is too early to call. We await mail-in ballots there, which can arrive up to 3 days after Election Day if they are postmarked Election Day. Here's the presidential race in Montana. It's too early to call, waiting for votes there, but the president has a lead.
Maine is too early. Michigan, also too early. That's part of what Democrats hope will be that blue wall.
Michigan, yeah, we talked about that. Wisconsin's the other one, too early to call. We're awaiting votes in Milwaukee County, which is a big one for Joe Biden if he hopes to pull that one out. And in Nevada, too early to call.
And Alaska is too early to call. So where does this lead us? Let's show you the electoral map at this hour. The road to 270, and it's got Donald Trump now out front with 209 electoral votes to 205 for Biden.
I'm gonna start off by apologizing. It's after 1 o'clock in the morning, and I might be attempting to ask people to do some math on their own. So I apologize for that at 1 a.m. But I want to show you here. Here's the Georgia statewide totals, and you're trying to figure out why haven't we closed Georgia? And I told you what we're looking at. As you see right now, we're waiting. There's 85% of the vote is in. We are waiting. The difference statewide, 236,000 votes. So let's, for instance, let's go here to DeKalb County. Right now, you see. There's a 100,000 vote margin. Now, let me just take you back here 4 years ago. And Hillary Clinton got a 200 vote margin out of here. So, all right, add up 100. There's 100,000 potential voters that net for Joe Biden that could eat into that lead. So there's one there. I'll give you that. Let's go to Fulton County. He's got here 181,000. Let's see what Hillary Clinton did here. In this case, he's likely to get a bigger number out of there. So I don't know if there's new vote to be gained here, but the turnout is above, so we'll see. Maybe there's a little bit there. Let's go into Cobb. This was another one that Hillary Clinton carried, but You see Joe Biden is carrying it by a bigger margin. We still got more to come in. He's got to increase that lead more there. So look, as you can see, there are theoretically, the numbers are there for Joe Biden as these numbers come in. But we'll see. Like it all is going to depend. This is all going to be on the margins. But this is going to shrink. You're going to continue to see this number shrink as the night goes on. And it's just all about, is there enough? Is there 240,000 votes somehow more so that he can make up here? We found at least 100 plus that you see is there. So this is why we think this race is going to be one we have to wait till.
Are they still counting in Georgia, to your knowledge? Okay.
Supposedly still counting. I think we had to find out. By the way, because you guys asked, you shall receive. Here's the Georgia recount rules. No automatic recount. You have to petition, but only if it's less than a half a percentage point difference at the end of the day. So that's what you're looking at there. So we will wait and see for a while.
So if Georgia breaks Biden's way, how much does that change the path to 270?
That changed the path to 270 a lot. Like here's where we are now. We got the president with a narrow lead, so we can play the game here. First of all, let's go ahead. If you gave Arizona and Nevada to the president, you do Georgia there, then suddenly the numbers, first of all, let me give North Carolina is certainly leaning in that direction. Minnesota leading in Biden's direction. As you can see here, it takes Pennsylvania off the table, right? Georgia would definitely take Pennsylvania off the table. And frankly, one of the things that we messed up, we just now called, looks like we finally called Rhode Island. We hadn't called Rhode Island. People had been wondering. I just saw the blue got filled in. There's Rhode Island there. But we still haven't called Maine, but let's put it in the, let's do the 3-1 split there, because we know that President Trump is winning that 2nd congressional district. So as you can see, Georgia certainly, you take it away, and then suddenly he's going to need to get back over here and need some of these states.
Okay, stay with me now.
Oh, no, Hawaii is Hawaii here is blue, and then you have the Nebraska district would get him to 270. Sorry, I had to get you there. But the point is, he can get to 270 now without Pennsylvania. And that's it. It was the point Rich Lowry was trying to make. There's that. But obviously, if you throw Georgia somehow went blue, then there's a lot more padding. In fact, I think it means he could do it without Michigan and Pennsylvania. And a long way to answer your question, Lester. Georgia would replace Michigan.
I have one more. So Georgia Georgia goes red.
Okay.
How does that change the